Follow me as we discover fascinating stories of some of the key people who helped shape Hammersmith and Fulham's black history. Let's start by talking about the pre-Victorian era. The Hammersmith and Fulham that you see today was a lot different back in the 17th century. The area was a countryside filled with farms, orchards and market gardens that sold fruits and flowers to the City of London. Where I'm standing on the Thames riverside is where many rich people built large houses and travelled to London by boat. One such man goes by the name of Nicholas Crisp. Nearly 400 years ago, in 1629, Crisp helped establish the first ever chapel in Hammersmith, later to be known as St. Paul's Parish Church. He supplied money from his family business, and the bricks for the church were made in his factory in Hammersmith. But Nicholas Crisp was also involved in the slave trade. His company shipped goods such as cottons and metals to trade for slaves in West Africa. Now, someone who you might say is the opposite to Nicholas Crisp is Granville Sharp. Sharp was one of the earliest campaigners in Britain for the rights of enslaved people. His concern about slavery began in 1765 when visiting his brother's surgery in Fulham. There he met Jonathan Strong, a slave from Barbados who was beaten by his slave master and left in the streets. Sharp took the beaten man to hospital and paid for his treatment. Thanks to Sharp, the Lord Chief Justice of England ruled in 1772 that a master could not force an enslaved person to leave Britain. A pioneer of Britain's abolitionist movement, Granville Sharp died in 1813 and is buried here in the churchyard of All Saints Church in Fulham. During the Victorian era, the population of Hammersmith and Fulham boomed from 5,000 people to over 100,000 people. The Metropolitan and District lines were built and Hammersmith Bridge was opened. An American couple who came to live in the middle of Hammersmith during Victorian times have an incredible story to tell. William and Ellen Craft were former African-American slaves turned fugitives. They came to live right here in 26 Cambridge Road in the 1850s. They met and married in William's home state of Georgia, USA. In the winter of 1848, William and Ellen devised a plan to leave the plantation after realizing they might be separated forever. Their escape became famous. As Ellen had light skin, she dressed as a white man pretending to be with her enslaved servant William. They traveled all the way from the warmth of Georgia to arrive in Philadelphia on Christmas Day. By 1850, the couple sailed to England, settling in Hammersmith where they lectured against American slavery. William told their story in a best-selling book called Running 1,000 Miles to Freedom. Another inspiring character from the Victorian era with a local link is Mary Seacole. And by the way, I'm standing now right here at St. Thomas Hospital in front of her memorial statue, which is believed to be the UK's first in honour of a named black woman. She was born in Jamaica. Her father was a British Army officer and her mother was a free black Jamaican woman. Mary learned about medicines, herbs and plants from her mother's Creole practices. In the 1820s, she travelled to England to learn about modern European medicine. And in the 1850s, Mary funded her trip to Crimea where she healed the injured and sick soldiers. She returned from the war with no money, soon to be forgotten. Mary died in 1881 in London and is buried here at the St. Mary's Catholic Cemetery, where she laid unknown for almost a century. Moving on to Hammersmith and Fulham in the 1930s, the first person we meet is Marcus Garvey. Garvey was born in Jamaica in 1887. In 1912, he moved to Britain to become a reporter. He returned to his native home in 1927. He founded the UNIA, which stands for the Universal Negro Improvement Association, which aims to improve the lives of all black people. He returned to Hammersmith in the 1930s, and he lived right here on Talgoth Road. He published a small newspaper called The Black Man from his offices in Beaumont Crescent. He died in 1940 and was buried here at the St. Mary's Roman Catholic Cemetery, the same place where Mary Seacole rests in peace. But his remains were returned to Jamaica in 1964, where he became the first recipient of the Jamaica Order of National Hero. Between 1948 and 1958, more than 100,000 West Indians came to Britain, most of whom served in the British forces during the war. The arrival of Caribbean settlers on board the Empire Windrush changed British history. The Windrush promised hundreds of new life in the mother country. Sadly, the Windrush generation faced racism and discrimination for years, but the determination of these heroes to rise above inequality would not be denied. One inspirational character from the Windrush generation is Connie Mark. Connie was born in Jamaica and served as a medical secretary in World War II. After the war, she moved to London where she became an activist for local West Indians. She co-founded the Mary Seacole Memorial Association to honour the famed nurse and bring recognition to black service personnel. A plaque was installed in her honour at the Mary Seacole House in Hammersmith, former home of Connie Mark. And here are 3 other places in Hammersmith and Fulham named after individuals who are central to our more recent black history. Randolph Bursford, former mayor of Hammersmith and Fulham, has a community centre in White City named after him. Janet Adegoke, the first black woman in London to be mayor, has a swimming pool in White City named after her. And the White City Stadium was renamed Olympia Christie Stadium in honour of the Olympian in 1993. And let's not forget, Hammersmith and Fulham has also played an important role in black British music history. Here you can find iconic record labels and venues such as Peckin's Records, whose owner George Peckin Rice was the first to export Jamaican sounds to the UK. It's still open today in Askew Road. Greensleeves Records, which from 1977 onwards became the #1 label for Caribbean sounds. It used to be at 44 Uxbridge Road, but is now occupied by the new Shepherd's Bush station. The former worldwide headquarters of Island Records, where Bob Marley recorded some of the tracks for the album Exodus, now an architecture studio. The legendary Hammersmith Apollo, which is still a famous music venue today. And the now gone venue, the Hammersmith Palace, which for a period in the 1970s and 80s felt like the epicenter for black music in London. If some of the people and events of Hammersmith and Fulham's black history got you thinking, go to the Urbanwise website for more information.